And now to the story of the night. President Obama goes before the country to deliver what could be one of the most important speeches of his presidency.
The economy took center stage with Mr. Obama calling for the country's reinvention through 5 basic pillars he says will move the country forward: education, infrastructure, innovation, deficit reduction, and reforming government. New at 11 tonight, NBC's Steve Handelsman has more on tonight's address from Capitol Hill.
Mr. Speaker,
President Obama could see tonight's changes. More Republicans than Democrats now in Congress. Mr. Speaker, Republican John Boehner. But because of the shooting of Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, marked by her empty chair, as Giffords and her husband watched tonight from Houston, some Democrats and Republicans broke tradition to sit together in bipartisanship that Barack Obama hopes can last.
what comes of this moment is up to us. What comes of this moment will be determined not by whether we can sit together tonight, but whether we can work together tomorrow.
Stock prices and corporate profits are high, but so is unemployment. The president says our future's in doubt.
At stake is whether new jobs and industries take root in this country or somewhere else.
He wants investment in education, research, energy, the internet, roads, and rail.
We need to out-innovate, out-educate, and out-build the rest of the world.
To offset that spending and pay off $400 billion of our deficit, the president would freeze domestic spending for 5 years. But small government, he says, is not the answer.
We shouldn't just give our people a government that's more affordable. We should give them a government that's more competent and more efficient.
House Republicans want to cut deeper. Their budget chair had their response.
Endless borrowing is not a strategy. Spending cuts have to come first.
Republicans are divided by the Tea Party. Democrats are weaker. Barack Obama is making his new move to assert leadership. I'm Steve Handelsman, NBC News, Capitol Hill.
Joining us right now to talk more about the president's speech is Dr. Robert Watson, News Channel 5 political analyst and professor at Lynn University. Thanks for joining us coming out in this rather miserable weather at this hour of the night.
The wind blew me into the studio, literally.
Yes, it did.
Well, first of all, characterize the speech tonight. Good, bad, indifferent. What should we take away from it?
In a word, I would say reasonable. Barack Obama was very reasonable. He claimed the political center. There was something for Democrats and Republicans in the speech. He said, for example, for the Democrats, we ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which prevented gays from serving in the military. But for Republicans, we need to let the military on college campuses and ROTC. For the Democrats, we need to cut stop this tax breaks for millionaires. For the Republicans, we need to support businesses with tax breaks. Something for everyone. Secondly, it was very optimistic. I think Obama has been channeling Ronald Reagan. The speech was peppered with nostalgia and patriotism. He said, this is the country of Thomas Edison and the Wright brothers. This is the country that put a car in every driveway, put a computer in every office. That's very Reagan-esque. That resonates well. It's very uplifting. And thirdly, as you said at the outset, the theme of winning the future. Who could argue with the fact that he pointed out that America is no longer leading in education, we're no longer leading in technology and infrastructure. We need to lead the world. We need to outproduce, we need to out-hustle, out-educate. And he had a great moment where he said this could be our Sputnik moment, a reference to the Soviet satellite in '57 that really got us the focus on the space race and our leadership in science and technology.
But I was speaking to Congressman Tom Rooney a few moments ago, and he was saying, and you know, they're very kind tonight, all of them, the Republicans, the Democrats, everyone wants to play nice following the speech, but was saying, okay, yes, the investment, but what about the spending?
Right.
I mean, it's out of control.
Well, a good chunk of the speech was focused on deficit reduction. Obama mentioned deficit reduction. He mentioned cuts in the program probably a half dozen times. So that was a good focus on the speech. Plus, it was this tone of bipartisanship tonight. Much coverage has been devoted to the notion that Senator Mark Udall of Colorado proposed after the horrible, tragic shooting of Representative Giffords that members of Congress sit together. Now, on one hand, the fact that it's a news story that members of Congress may actually sit together, that shows you how bad things have become.
Right.
But it was a symbolic display. We saw even Joe Wilson from South Carolina, the Republican who last year yelled, "You lie." Even Wilson sat together. The Arizona delegation sat together and left a seat open for Giffords. That was a powerful moment. There's a funny line by Dick Durbin of Illinois, the Democrat. Speaking of Kirk, the Republican, he said, the two of us are going to sit together. It's date night. He said, I'm bringing the popcorn. and Kirk's going to bring the Coca-Cola with 2 straws. So I'm not willing to say we've put this ugly, venomous tone behind us. Rather than being a date night, I think it's going to end up being a one-night stand, because I think tomorrow we're going to be back to politics as usual.
The gloves are coming off tomorrow.
They'll come off tomorrow. But you know, the State of the Union is part of the great pageantry of American politics. And in that tone, I think Obama struck the right chord.
All right. Dr. Watson, Lynn University, our analyst. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for braving the weather.
Exactly. Appreciate it.
A memory of the Tucson shooting was reflected, as we just mentioned, in Washington this evening. An empty chair could be seen among Arizona's delegates, where Democratic Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords would have sat. Giffords may not physically have been present, but lawmakers wore black and white ribbons in her honor. An idea spearheaded by her friend, Florida Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The tragedy in Tucson